I need to start differently today. This discussion lands deeply. Before the systems, before the strategies, I came here to share our true history today. I need to start with some names because the people who built what I'm about to show you, they deserve to hear their names spoken out loud, on record, in the air, where nothing can erase them. Robert Thomas, Arkansas, 1815. Maria Thomas, Arkansas, 1810. Henry Renfro, Tennessee, December 1853. Betty Elizabeth Hughes, Georgia, May 1861. Robert Fred Renfro, September 1861, lived until March 9th, 1961. 99 years on this earth, 99 years of witnessing. Laura Thomas Renfro, August 1st, 1890, Arkansas. Demise September 14th, 1967. Lillian Renfro Davis, June 15th, 1918, Clarksville, Oklahoma. Demise March 21st, 1999, Tulsa, Oklahoma. She is my big mama. Dorothy Lee Davis, January 1st, 1933. Demise May 7th, 1985. My beloved mother. Every single one of them rest in Creek Nation burial grounds in Oklahoma. Every single one of them survived something that was designed to make survival impossible. And every single one of them passed something forward through their hands, through their silence, through their rebuilding, and through their love until it reached me. And today I pass it forward to you. Now take a breath. What you're about to witness carries every name, every date, every migration, every reclassification, every burial ground, every act of resistance, and every act of love my family passed into the soil of this country we call America and this great earth. This tribute belongs to them, and it belongs to you. Welcome back. I am Loretta Simpson. This is BWAN, the Black Wealth Acceleration Project discussion. And today we talk about knowledge as our peace. Before the United States drew its lines across this continent, this land already had great civilization. The Massacre Creek Nation occupied millions of acres across what the maps now call Alabama, Georgia, and the Southern East Territories. They built towns, they governed themselves, they developed complex trade networks, agriculture systems, and diplomatic relationships across the region. The Creek did not wander this land, they administered it. In 1830, the United States Congress passed the Indian Removal Act under President Andrew Jackson. What followed carried a name that holds exactly what it is: the Trail of Tears. The Muskogee Creek people, along with Cherokee, Choctaw, Chickasaw, and Seminole nations, faced forced removal from their ancestral homelands at gunpoint, in chains, in winter, with insufficient food and no mercy. These people look different than who you see today in the 5 civilized tribes. Thousands died on the road. Those who survived arrived in what the federal government called Indian Territory, the land that would become Oklahoma. And somewhere on that road or in that territory or in the Arkansas River Valley where Creek land met Black freedom, my family planted their feet and refused to be removed again. Robert Thomas and Marie Thomas. I do not have every detail of their crossing. History did not always write down the names of the people it tried to erase, but the Dawes roll does. Between 1898 and 1914, the federal government conducted what it called the Dawes Roll, a census of 5 civilized tribes in Indian Territory, designed to allot individuals land parcels and ultimately dissolve tribal sovereignty. My family appears on that roll. The name is Renfro. Creek by blood, Creek newborn. Those are the classifications my family carried when the government first came to write them down. The changes did not happen in one moment. They accumulated through warfare, treaties, removal, enslavement, missionary influence, American property law, and federal administration. Then watch what happens. Creek by blood, Creek Freedmen, Mulatto, colored, Negro, black. Same people, same bloodline, same land, same burial grounds. The classification changed every time the system needed something different from them. This is what scholars call paperwork violence. The systemic reclassification of human beings to serve administrative, economic, and political purposes, stripping land rights, tribal citizenship, and inheritance with every new checkbox. My family did not change, the paperwork did. And the distinction that truth sits at the absolute center of everything I teach on this platform. You cannot be placed in a checkbox, BWAN, because you are universal people. My family moved the way Black families moved in America and have always moved, following survival and following opportunity, often at the same time. From the Arkansas River, they moved south and west into East Texas, Kilgore, Texas. The East Texas oil boom of the early 1930s drew Black workers and Black families into a region that needed their labor and resented their presence simultaneously. They came anyway. They worked. They built. Then they moved again. Wagner, Oklahoma, Porter, and eventually some in Tulsa. They followed the Arkansas River Valley the way their Creek ancestors had, reading the land, moving with purpose, planting themselves where they could build something real and sustainable. By the time my grandmother, Lillian Davis, came into the world on June 15, 1918 in Clarksville, Oklahoma, this family had already survived removal, reclassification, the oil fields, and the great migration routes of Black America. Lillian carried all of that. She rested in Tulsa soil on March 21st, 1999, in Green Acres Memorial Gardens, Creek Cemetery, Skytook, Oklahoma, a Creek Nation burial ground. She came home to the land her people never truly left. I need to speak carefully here because this part of my family's histories lives primarily in the griot, in the oral tradition passed down through the women who remembered and the silence of those who could not speak it directly. And I will honor it exactly that way. There is an intersection in Tulsa, Oklahoma, Greenwood Avenue, Archer Street, Pine Street. If you know Black American history, you know what happened near the intersection in May and June of 1921. The 1921 Tulsa race Massacre. What the federal government, the state of Oklahoma, and the city of Tulsa spent decades refusing to name, refusing to document, refusing to teach was the deliberate, coordinated destruction of the wealthiest Black community in America, Black Wall Street. 300 Black residents killed. 35 square blocks burned to the ground. 10,000 Black Tulsians left homeless overnight on Creek Nation land, on the same soil where my family had already planted themselves through removal, migration, and survival. My family never talked about that period directly. Some wounds run so deep that silence becomes the only container strong enough to hold them. I hold that silence, and I honor this name, Effie Thatcher. The family griot carries her story. She owned a bed and breakfast, a juke joint, a laundry, a Black enterprise, Black community infrastructure, Black joy, and Black service operating at the center of Greenwood. Long after the massacre, Effie Thatcher rebuilt. Not somewhere safe, not somewhere easier. She rebuilt at the intersection of Greenwood, Archer, and Pine. The same corner, the same ground, the same address that the violence had tried to erase. She looked at what had been burned and she said, "This is still ours." And she built again. I want you to understand what that act means in the context of this episode. Knowledge as peace does not mean peace from struggle. It means the deep, unshakable knowing that you belong to something the system cannot classify, cannot burn, and cannot erase. Effie Thatcher knew who she was. She rebuilt from that knowing. And decades later, from the same circumference, that same Greenwood, Archer, and Pine geography, a group of brothers from Tulsa, Oklahoma, gave the world music that made the whole planet move. The Gap Band. That corner never stopped producing because what Effie planted, the community grew. Now I want to bring you to the second line. In Alabama, there lived a Black sharecropper named Ned Cobb. History would come to know him as Nate Shaw through the work of Theodore Rosengarten, who documented his life in one of the most important oral histories ever recorded in America. I met Theodore while working at the College of Charleston. He too was employed at the college, which he then provided me with the original transcripts of his interview. This documentary, All God's Dangers, The Life of NateShaw, can be watched on YouTube, and I'll put the link here. Ned Cobb worked land he did not own under a system designed to ensure he could never own it. He farmed with precision. He built with discipline. He understood the land was not just property. Land was freedom made physical. When the sheriff came to seize the livestock of a fellow Black farmer, a neighbor, a community member, a man who had worked as hard as Ned had worked, Ned Cobb stood in the road armed. He knew what that could cost him. He stood anyway. He went to prison and refused to be released early. He decided to owe no Caucasian anything, so he served his full prison term. And when he came out, he told his truth so completely, so clearly, so without apology, that it became a book that scholars, historians, and freedom fighters still read today. Ned Cobb understood something that every wealth-building conversation on this platform circles back to. The system will come for what you build. Build it anyway. stand anyway, and you speak anyway. He died in 1973 at age 88, just a year before his story reached the world in print. His life remains a testament to Black self-determination, economic resilience, and the will to stand firm against systems designed to break that spirit. His descendants carry that lineage today. Aunt Jean Gardner, Georgia and New York. Cousin Nadine Cobb Hickson, Alabama. Cousin Shirley May Ray in Tennessee. The resistance did not end with Ned Cobb. It multiplied. And then there is my beautiful mother, Dorothy Lee Davis. She came into this world on the first day of January 1933, carrying every generation before her in her bones. She rests now in what was the Booker T. Washington Cemetery, now Rolling Oaks in Tulsa, Oklahoma. Creek Nation burial ground. She carried Lillian's resilience. She carried Laura Thomas' name through me. She carried Effie Thatcher's rebuilding spirit, and she carried Ned Cobb's refusal to be moved. She carried all of it, and she gave it to me. Mama, everything I build here, every conversation, every resource, every name I speak on record, I build it for you and from you. Thank you for your blessed inheritance. Now let me bring this home, because this episode lives in a series about navigating the systems we live in. I want you to understand something clearly. The systems my family navigated: land removal, reclassification, oil boom labor, the massacre, the migration, the Dawes rolls, those were not all accidents of history. They were systems designed, administered, enforced. The federal government designed the Dawes rolls to dissolve tribal sovereignty and redistribute land. It is all about the land. The classification system, Creek by blood to Black, served land theft. Every reclassification removed a legal claim. The 1921 massacre destroyed Black economic infrastructure that had grown so powerful enough to threaten white supremacist economic order. The sharecropping system that Ned Cobb fought against trapped Black labor in a cycle designed to prevent generational wealth accumulation. These were systems. And here's what knowledge as peace teaches us about systems. When you understand the system loses its power to define you. My family carried Creek by blood in their veins, while the government wrote Negro on their paperwork. The paperwork was a lie. The blood was the truth. Ned Cobb understood the sharecropping system clearly enough to name it, resist it, and document it for generations he would never meet. Effie Thatcher understood that Greenwood, Archer, and Pine belonged to the community regardless of what violence had tried to claim. Knowledge as peace means you stop asking the system to validate what you already know about yourself. You build from the knowing. You move from the knowing, and you stand from the knowing. My family appears in every census category this country invented to contain them, and they outlasted every single one. Robert F. Renfro lived 99 years on this earth. 99 years. He watched this country invent and reinvent its classification. He watched Oklahoma become a state. He watched 2 world wars. He watched the Great Depression. He watched the birth of the Civil Rights Movement, and he kept living. That is not passive endurance. That is active, sovereign, rooted peace. That peace that comes from knowing exactly who you are and where you come from. I want to place this family history inside its full context now, because this story does not begin in 1815 with Robert Thomas in Arkansas, and it does not end in Tulsa in 1999 with my grandmother Lillian or my mother Dorothy Lee Davis. This story begins at the beginning of time. The Creek Nation, the Muskogee people, trace civilizations back thousands of years on this continent that indigenous people call Turtle Island. When the Dawes rolls classified my family as Creek by blood, it was acknowledging, even in its bureaucratic land-grabbing way, that this lineage connects to one of the oldest continuous civilizations on this continent. Creek, Freedmen, Mulatto, Colored, Negro, Black. Every classification tells you more about the system sphere than it tells you more about my family's origin. The origin reaches back past every checkbox, past every census, past every removal act, past every massacre, all the way back to the beginning. This is not an American story. This is a human story, a universal story, a story that blossoms from the beginning of time and reaches forward into every generation to come. Your wealth is not just financial. Your wealth is this lineage. Your wealth is this knowing, and your wealth is the sovereignty that no paperwork has ever successfully removed. Before I close today, I need to speak directly to the living descendants of these 2 lines, to the women who carry this forward right now. Aunt Ruth Peterson in Los Angeles, California. Aunt Jean Gardner in Georgia and New York. Cousin Nadine Cobb Hickson in Alabama. Cousin Shirley Mae Ray in Tennessee. I see you, beautiful mothers. I name you. I honor you. And I want you to hear this, because I believe with everything these ancestors pressed into me. Life is sweet during the bitter times, when you walk in the knowledge of self and the power of love. Communities could not have built, survived, and rebuilt from the First World Massacre without that knowing, without that love. And this story reaches far beyond Turtle Island. It blossoms from the beginning of our time to every ancestor whose name I spoke today, and to every ancestor whose name the paperwork tried to take, spoken, unspoken. Thank you for your love. Thank you for your guidance. Thank you for your strength. May we stand in your truth, all of us. May we build without looking back. We move forward with independence and sovereignty through systems that align all your Black children today and from generations to come. We see you. We carry you. We build for you. This is BWAN, and all of this is the inheritance.